where you will gain a deeper understanding of the purpose and essence of opening your eyes. This is your chance to enhance self-awareness and personal growth with a shift in perception that provides a fresh outlook on life. Embrace the journey from consciousness to superconsciousness by Barrett Kunyan.
Here we are again, and we have brother Rick Jewers. Thank you so much, brother. It's an honor. Really good to see you again, and we have a great show tonight, shall we say? And I've taken some notes down here, lovely brother. Today, our beautiful topic is going to be on the subject of the fall of Babylon, prophecy, judgment, and the rise of Zion in a changing world. Thank you so much, brother, because what I noticed, that you put an amazing article out on the 14th of March, and it's to do with Babylon, destruction of. If I may, it's a bit of a read, but I've taken notes down from your article from social media, Facebook, for our beautiful viewers out there. I'll swift through it as quickly as I can. As floods, fires, and earthquakes, winds, and hails become more prevalent worldwide in cities and towns, it tends to add more credence to the book of Revelations in the Bible. Although the book of Revelations is not part of all Christian Bibles, it may be a great idea for all Christians to take the time to read this chapter and to recognize perhaps a more conclusive parallel with what is occurring worldwide now. Not only Christians perhaps should read or reference, however, all faiths worldwide may wish to objectively view its content and prophecy. It is common sense to notice the unprecedented fires and floods, at least worldwide, and to know these incidents are not by chance. Metaphorically and symbolically, in the Bible, the city of Babylon represents a state of sin, non-virtue, and perhaps a house of evil. Typically, in a city more evil, energy congregates and culminates. They're compounding a negative energetic value based on fear that influences individuals to some degree to create the same energy through their actions and condenses. So what we see is the actual destruction of Babylon being delivered on many micro examples worldwide. At this time, read the signs. Babylon, the capitalistic beast system worldwide, is being distracted. There is the real wrath of God that is tearing down the system worldwide, is being distracted. There is a wrath of God that is tearing down the system in abstract ways beyond what the human consciousness can comprehend, until it becomes more distinct and reaches the level of where it can no longer be ignored. As cars float down city streets worldwide, humanity comes to know that this is not normal, unprecedented, and must mean much more. Perhaps God is real. At the same time, Babylon is being distracted. Zion, GPMS.world, is being created on earth. God's children are freed and saved through their ultimate choice and alignment with the divine plan, which is for all races upon earth. Revelations 16 and 18 can give a quick evaluation. This is from your heart, love, light, gratitude to all. Rick Jewers, son of God, prime creator. Thank you so much for that, brother Rick.
You're welcome.
Even before the show, I was saying to you, it is absolutely nectar of information. So thank you again. And as before, for ourselves, I've comprised some questions, and I broke it down in several departments, beginning with the first one, if I may, lovely brother Rick. It's to do with prophecy or coincidence. Okay, so the question is based on prophecy or coincidence. The question is, do recent disasters, so do recent disasters align with revelation, or are they just natural events? I will repeat the question. Do recent disasters align with revelation, or are they just natural events? Thank you, brother Rick.
Yeah, you're welcome, brother. Well, let's say most certainly they do. If any individual is to take the time and look worldwide at these natural disasters, they're seeing that they're becoming more prevalent, more prominent, and more pronounced. At this point, the floods are when we do have floods, let's say in cities, you're seeing vehicles float down the streets, as is put in there. You're also seeing, if you will, many signs were seen in the skies, and also you're seeing the hail storms, unprecedented hail storms in areas, tornadoes. You're seeing all of this, but what you're seeing is that it's increasing and increasing more and more, which is indicative, at least, of putting more validity and credence onto these prophecies. And it cannot be ignored. It's worldwide. And when you look at, let's say, some of the damage done by these floods, it's extensive, and it is worldwide. It's the Philippines, Italy, Spain, California, to some. I keep mentioning California because there's something more with a lot of water to come there yet. But let's look at the east coast of America, the Carolinas, Florida, Australia. So you can look all around the world. Russia was the first indicator when the water began to, in one village, just come up through the ground as well. That was the first divine indicator that was setting the precedent to align more with the prophetic revelations in the Bible. But can you re-ask your question a little bit, brother? I got a little bit sidetracked here on what I was
Absolutely.
doing.
Absolutely. So, do recent disasters align with revelation, or are they just natural events?
Yeah, no, they're not just natural events. A lot of this is divinely orchestrated. As I said, I just watched earlier today as an example. I think it was in Iran, with the waters turning red because of water going over the red sand and going into the ocean and causing the ocean to go red. Now, this also is it's symbolic. However, it is more accurately written that in the Revelations, the waters will turn red. So here you have another supporting indication on top of where it was put with great earthquakes, hail, and flooding as well. But we also need to realize that to some degree, um, let's say, scripture like the Revelations, that some of this also has been manipulated through the course of time by others, but also it's the interpretation and perspective when ones translate and write these things as well. So it causes a margin of error and variation into the original text. But nevertheless, what holds steadfast is the important ingredients, and that's what we mention now. So I need to bring this up that, with everything that I put out, I'm connected straight to God, and what is recognized is that things have been manipulated, what was written and prophesied. However, the core is still there. And this is what we're seeing. We're seeing more of the Bible, especially Revelations, being accredited in this time. So it's very real. And no, when you see vehicles floating down the streets, that is in many areas worldwide, vehicles floating down city streets. No, this is unprecedented. And with that, it is, and it has a higher meaning. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. On the basis of interfaith view, how might different religions interpret these global events? So I'll repeat, how might different religions interpret these global events?
And that is an excellent question because it does vary somewhat between faiths and beliefs and religions. However, once again, when we look at most of the time, I reference what is written within Christianity and within the Bible. And let me say that Father directs me at important times towards the Bible directly. And as full disclosure, I have never read the entire Bible. At any time that I need to see something, I'm directed by Father to look in there and to identify it as an accurate clue or an accurate theme of what is occurring at any given time. So, having said this, within the Christian faith, what I wish to say, it's fully substantiated. What's happening now, when we look at Eastern Orthodox Christianity, if you will, for the most part, to my knowledge, they excluded the book of Revelations out of their teachings. Nevertheless, it is still within their teachings in the book of Matthew, book of Isaiah, and what have you. So that is still part of the Orthodox teachings about the second coming, if you would, and what would occur around that. So when you look at over 2 billion worldwide, and the number's actually greater than that, I think 2.4 billion are Christians by faith. The biggest percentage of them at some point during their life have known about the second coming and events that may or would occur at this time. But it's not about all needing to know it, and I'm only using Christianity right now. It's about the prominent leaders and influencers of Christianity that, we should be able to call them the shepherds to steer their congregations into the right direction. So having said that, what should be ideally occurring at this time is worldwide within Christianity, it should have recognized and adopted GPMS.world, the divine plan. But going back, if we look at the Islamic faith, and this is a great question you brought up, the new world, if you will, is prophesized, but it's prophesized in different ways, meaning that it will vary from belief to belief. And when you look at Hopi prophecy, the condor in the eagle prophecies, and Incan prophecies in Peru, uh, even perhaps Aborigine prophecies. When you look at these prophecies in the faith, you will find, if you study them enough, that they do all converge to a very good, complete change on earth. So they don't converge to a destruction. They actually converge as the old is breaking down, that the new is going to be right here. So, what we have simultaneously to that effect right now, again, is GPMS.world that is being created, and the ones gathered being, this is the construction of the new world, while the old rapidly destructs. So, and not only, if you look at the religions, in reality, the New Age movements, if you will, and the spiritual movements, part of their education and knowing is to know at least that they're here for a significant change, that they're here to break the chains of the old, and that they actually do have a purpose, and that there's a reason why they are here at this time. And again, it's to create the change. So the divine incentive has been placed into every important soul, whether they believe in Jesus Christ or Buddha or what have you. It doesn't matter. They have been seated with that divine knowing that when the time is right, they have to be a part of the good change.
That's great, my lovely brother. Thank you for that. On the basis of Babylon today, is modern society experiencing a moral collapse? So, is modern society experiencing a moral collapse?
Exactly, and an excellent question. And that is what's occurring. What runs prevalent, if you will, in the this current system is, to keep it simple, this current system is savage, it's primitive, and it's just so many of the negative characteristics of what it does, but what it does to people as well. So, and what was your question again, please?
Yes, my lovely
Could you
brother.
just repeat that? Thank
Course,
you.
yeah. Is modern society experiencing a moral collapse?
Yes, yes, and that's what's occurring as well. So, with all the collapse of the present society, with all of these factors that are contributing to a compression upon the people, again, what they're coming to see and feel is to know that, let's say, the lives that they lived in, let's say, a comfort, but many have not. They're really just living a monotonous, robotic life, just to keep fueling the system, the current beast system, if you will, which is controlled to enslave and do that. But many are breaking out of those thoughts with that. It's interesting, brother, and just to reveal here, with this question, I so fully wish to answer it in a way, but for whatever reason, it's just blocked in the way that I want to answer that question. So perhaps we can. Do you have any other question yourself right at the moment to ask, like about that, a specific part?
Well, it was leading up to my next question, which is very interconnected to some degree, because there's a thing called divine and there's a thing called or natural. So it's either divine or natural. And the question leading up to that was going to be, are these disasters God's wrath or just environmental changes? So based
Oh, well,
on
let me
yeah.
let me make this very clear. Anything that is considered as natural is part of creation, which is God.
Yeah.
So, with all of these disasters, what we have is there's contributing factors to this. What I will say is that in the big picture, overall, with the outcome at what these disasters are going to serve in good ways, is the complete change. But intermediate, if you will, it's part of a process to steer ones to, let's say for a moment, they stop and think, all right, they'll say, all of these floods are against astronomical odds, all of the stress on Earth, so that there is something occurring that is beyond what they may call a natural with just Mother Nature. So what they're seeing is that nature is being more controlled itself. But there are two variables. There was an intentional nefarious control with weather, if you will, to a degree. But again, anything that happens here right now is overseen by the higher divine realm, meaning that if there is manipulation of weather, it is monitored and overseen, but it also serves a beneficial picture. So you have in the past, not as much today as what you had even 5 years ago. There is still some nefarious manipulation, but it's overseen and it's limited. So when you take that right now exclude that out of the equation, and then when we go into the natural, well, natural is comprised of energy. Creation is energy. And when you look at it from a natural perspective, what influences nature is energy, positive or negative. For example, if you're in a beautiful park, we'll just use this as an analogy. If you're in a beautiful park with birds and trees and it's quiet in there, that is a positive environment. But if that same park, if a group comes in, let's say with loud music and drinking alcohol and a big party and throwing garbage and everything everywhere, then that park, if you will, becomes a negative area. Now, so I'm showing on a small scale the effects of what you do to an geographical energetic area, how you disturb energy, if you will. And so, for yourself, if there's a big party like that going on in a park, you wouldn't go near it because the energy is not compatible with what you are. So, using that as a micro example of the whole, this thing, when you have a lot that are in negative and fear emotions worldwide, it affects the overall energetic soup, if you will, that's out there. And if that gets too intense, because it's an actual energy, and when you look at, let's say, wind is an actual energy that has a polarity, but if wind is energized by the exchange of electrons, negative electrons, that are emitted also from so many negative individuals, then you begin to create high winds, you can create tornadoes, and you affect nature as a whole. Now, not only this, the stress that is created upon Earth because of the great fear, it gets reciprocated into the electromagnetic field of Gaia herself, of the earth, because I have an electromagnetic field, you do, and everything that you do, if everyone was to become negative, let's say on earth right now, if there was no one that believed in God, earth would most likely self-destruct because of the negative stress factor that is put into her energetic field. So when you're seeing all of these earthquakes and a lot of in storms, what have you, they are also caused partially by the energetic effects of the human souls themselves that are in lower states of fear and negativity. And this adds to the storms, if you will, making many category 5 hurricanes and not sure of the cyclone scale, but super storms, if you will, that the world has been experiencing as well, because everything is amplified. And at the same time, we are in the ascension mode where individuals with their co-creator ability and their influence on reality is becoming stronger and stronger. And if you have a co-creator, is a lesser form than the overall creator. However, you're still creating and you're affecting reality here. So if many co-creators are plunged into fear, then what they are generating out into reality is negativity, which is stress, and it goes into the overall field of Gaia, and it adds to these storms and earthquakes and what have you. So that is occurring, but also the divine plan of where ones, if you will, would not listen, would not believe. So then Father Prime Creator puts his foot down and also allows, for a lot of minor floodings and things. And what you will find with a very, let's say, devastating storm, you will find that even though the extents of the storm were amazing, that there's very few deaths as well. So it's important to look at this. How could this be? Because it's kind of defying what is logic, if you will. A devastating storm with maybe only 1 death or 2 deaths, maybe 4, in city areas and what have you. So this is showing with this also the mercy of God that is indicating, God does not want to hurt everyone, yet at the same time, they must listen up and they must pay attention because the time is now.
Beautiful, brother. Thank you for that. If I may move on to Zion's rise now. Zion's rise. What does the creation of Zion mean for humanity? I'll repeat the question. What does the creation of Zion mean for humanity?
Excellent. So what I wish to do is we're putting a label, Zion, on the new world, if you will. So it can be other labels like Shambhala or heaven on earth, and whatever is in the Hopi prophecy. I just forget, but they speak about the new time with the star people and what have you as well. So it has many different names. I use the Zion because it's from the Bible, showing the opposite of Babylon after it destructs. So metaphorically, it's a very excellent depiction, an accurate depiction of what is occurring now. One can even associate GPMS.world with Zion, the new world that is peace, love, and abundance and joy, and all of these. So we need to put an identification label onto this for others to recognize. So let's say the ones, many very good, even though religions, they're very good people and connected to God. So we don't discriminate between beliefs, but to mention that. But the thing is, they're endowed with at least some of the knowledge that they can understand it from a level where many of the masses won't, and where many of the masses are missing the signs as well. So, where you have already prepared many that when they hear this word Zion, at least it rings a bell and it refreshes what it's about. And it is the opposite. So, again, at the same time as we have the destruction of Babylon, the old savage beast system, of money and finance and artificial laws, what was ruling the planet, that is the beast system, that is Babylon as a whole. While that is destructing because it's imploding, it can no longer justify or give any supporting evidence to its validity, especially in terms of accounting how money was made, and also in its laws and in its individual countries that are separated because of actions by the individual leaders of those countries. It's causing much stress. So this is all to the meltdown and the breakdown, the destruction of Babylon. At the same time, what we're doing, all of us divine ones, and you're included in it, brother, as we know, with GPMS.world, it is the peaceful assimilation of earth with God's law and everyone doing the good moral things. And just jumping back to one of your questions, you know, anyone that is in the rat race, if you will, and in the cities, making a job and doing all these things, that they are actually contributing to the Babylon, which is causing great harm. So, in reality, and lawfully and technically, and realistically, anyone that is still supporting the system, they are an accomplice of the crimes of what the system is still committing today and what it has committed. And what the system has committed is that it committed great disparity and it created classes of people, with one of those being the extreme poverty that deprived ones of their sustenance, their food. So then you have many dying. So it's a result of the system that is inflicting all of this great misery and harm worldwide. So with about 35,000 dying each day of hunger because of this current system, and almost perhaps 800 million, almost a billion going hungry every night because of this system. This is a cruel system. It is savage. And for anyone to support it for much longer, they also become more of an accomplice of these crimes of the system. So when one is offered the opposite, the moral choice of GPMS.world and to create the new world. And if they don't take it, once they see it, and they remain supporting the old system and its politics, its taxes, its functions, then they become more of an accomplice to this overall crime. So it is a very serious time. Everyone has free will to a degree that you have a free will of the choice. But what you will find is that you actually don't have free will when you choose the lower negative things, because that is imploding, it's destructing. And if you are a soul, this is why so many souls, if you will, against all odds and astronomical odds, if they were divinely called out of the system, it would be divinely orchestrated that against all odds, they would lose everything. And these are, and one of the reasons for this is for these ones to be the examples to know how important this time is, this divine time. So, having said that, going back to the free will, no, actually, no one has the free will to the extent that you think you can live here and continue supporting an old system. That is not an option. You have the free will to make the higher choices. And let me just say again, everyone is being divinely, that's going forward, it's being divinely forced to do so. It's beyond the individual means. Again, using an example, what many finds, and they can attest to this, you just will not be able to find a job in this matrix. And I use a sister, Stephanie. She had from Texas, she had a very good high job, a big education. She couldn't even get a job at McDonald's because she was divinely called for other work. So it's divinely insured beyond your ability, beyond your free will. If you're playing an important divine role in this overall change, everything will be taken from you, and it doesn't matter how hard you fight, it'll be taken.
Thank you,
So
brother.
these are just some more of the truth. You're welcome.
Yeah. You've just answered my next question, because I was going to say signs of the times. What specific events do you see as the clearest signs of Babylon's destruction? But I think you've touched on that. If you want to add a bit more to that, so I'll repeat the question: what specific events do you see as the clearest signs of Babylon's destruction?
Well, for the most part, one I would suggest at this time is the civil unrest worldwide and the mounting protests, and the sizes of these protests. They're growing; they're not getting smaller. So it's indicative of the when you see 1 million on the street, you're only seeing the tip of an iceberg of what is actually the dissenting ones in any country. So what you're seeing on the street, it's important for ones to know that that number in any country is actually 10 times more, or could even be 100 times more. Everyone needs to realize also with the great inflation that is occurring worldwide, that is pushing everyone to some degree lower, but pushing also ones into areas of poverty. And for, let's say, uh, uh, governing bodies to be doing this and threatening the security of their own people, it becomes very obvious that there's another agenda at play, and which it is, because the old system of politics and governments has to implode. And part of that implosion is losing the full trust in it. And if you are to do some research or a poll of your own today, you will find that 85, I'd say it's higher, 90, 93% of the population worldwide does not trust government. That would be their response. If you ask them, do you trust government? Answer yes or no. Their question would be no as a result of this. So, and the governments, if you will, is what upheld the capitalistic system. They're part of that worldwide network to keep it intact. But I won't go so much down that road, because what I will say, individually, everyone would have their own signs to know, to identify with this as well, that the old is destructing. They'd have friends or family just unable to make ends meet, any longer, and perhaps even going into dismal situations as well. So it's being observed, but not only that, you have so many factors at this time that is destructing the governments and the trust in it. So when there is no trust in any uh, government network any longer, it cannot exist because it needs the trust, that support of trust to exist. So when it doesn't matter what it is, if it's governments or if you're in a group online and you no longer have that trust, you don't support it and you exit the scene. So this is what's happening on the macro level worldwide, that many are leaving the old paradigm uh, structure of that uh, lower, I'm looking for the words, but anyways, everyone knows what I mean. And there is the GPMS again. Tonight, brother, I keep going to GPMS as a reference, and one of the reasons for your viewers is because it is the Mount Zion, if you will. It is very real. So that is
Beautiful.
the opposite. So
Yeah.
anyone watching, just quickly, yeah, everything is going to be fine. Remain in your trust of who you are and be the best version of yourself that you can be, and keep connected with God, Mother, and Father, and everything's going to be all right. But we are separating the wheat from the chaff on the planet, which means also the old system uh, from one's being ready for the new system as well. So it's a huge divine operation that has a huge ground crew here to facilitate it as well.
Beautiful, brother. And it'll be a very quick answer to this question because it is GPMS, but I shall present it for our beautiful viewers as well. Based on spiritual awakening, how can individuals recognize and align with the divine plan? So based on this massive awakening that's taking place, how can individuals recognize and align with the divine plan?
But one of the best ways, I'd say, just go to the GPMS website and look for the tab, the comparison of old versus the new, because
Yeah,
the new is what everyone is voting for. But, with anyone that's awakened, and even those that are not awakened yet, at least to some degree, they knew something is wrong with the world and that it could not continue society as it is. So, having said that, each in their own unique way should readily, instantly identify with what this is, because also, many has been given visions and also divinely met and has had divine experiences where they have been, told you're here. I love using this one today because this was Christina Cowherd. Um, had mentioned what she had got, and Christine was, let's say, one of the uh, founding contributors when we were setting GPMS up. But one thing she was given, she's here to break the chains, and so that's been coming up today, and many have been given that. They've been given visions of a utopian world, and also for them to know that they're part of doing it. So they should recognize it easily.
beautiful, brother. I mean, coming back to the moral responsibility, what actions should people take to avoid contributing to Babylon's downfall?
Well, it's pretty simple. As I said, just step back for a moment. Uh, if one is new watching this show, and just look at and weigh, is it actually moral to support a system that is inflicting so much harm upon humanity? Or is it a higher morality to assist with creating the new system that is all inclusive and does no harm whatsoever? So, with that, it becomes um, I like to say, like a no brainer choice, meaning you don't need to think about it. It's right there in your face. It's so obvious. So you don't need to think hard about it, or you should not. But, also at the same time, with what morality is. Some will align morality to a code of ethics or something that has been designed by man, which steers them away from true morality to some extent. Meaning, that it's not, it is not all right to physically harm another, even in self defense. That is the highest truth of it. To turn the other cheek is the most powerful. And now, if you say that, how many actually today would do that if someone hit them? Very few yet, but we're going to the world where there is no anger for anyone to provoke another or to hit them. But again, it begins with us. Um, so again, I steered a little bit off of your original question there. But morals, I mean, what is right or wrong? It's wrong to support a criminal gang, if you will, that's killing people and children worldwide. How much more simple can it be when the absolute solution is here that actually supports and uplifts everyone, and no one is dying of hunger? So that choice is a very simple, not only moral, but it's a logical choice. So again, there are times I keep looking out at the great compassion that I have with my heart, to present GPMS in the most simplicity yet. There are ones at times, and I know others can attest, when you give it to them, their eyes glaze over. They don't even see the simplicity of it, and again, with the consciousness has been conditioned and controlled so much that ones are educated within a box that they don't have the ability to see the simplest solution outside of it yet. But they're being forced to see the simplicity, the simple solution. And again, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing if this was not divinely endorsed to ensure that. So ones are raising in their morality, and in retrospect, they're let's say, have had a good chance in the last 5 years to do life reviews, during lockdowns, and which enabled them to make better decisions and perhaps higher choices going forward, but also being divinely courageous enough to stand up in divinity, not being an aggressive warrior. That's not the way, but being courageous enough to stand in truth adamantly and be the peer of a peaceful truth, and be the example, for others as well.
Very good, brother. Based on Zion's future, how will the transition from Babylon to Zion reshape society? So if you can maybe just outline us some examples of how will the transition from Babylon to Zion reshape society?
Excellent questions, brother. You always have excellent questions. How will it? Well, one thing we need to look at is that simultaneously the destruction of Babylon is occurring at the same time the construction of of Zion is occurring. And as a result of this, it's kept easier as a shift, a choice to leave the system to support to create the new system. Um, so with that, again, there has to be the destruction to a degree that it needs to be. And if you ask how much, I cannot honestly give you how much destruction that there needs to be, because my divine role and purpose is to put the focus on the construction. Because the bigger we get this, the less destruction that there has to occur. So it would keep the focus on creating the new peaceful reality. Um, so if it's about the amount, brother, there are variables with this overall ascension with that. And with that, if it was so easy as prime creator could just snap his and her fingers and have it done, it would have been done that way. But for divine reasons, we need to be here on the ground to quickly transition humanity forward, and it's being divinely done this way. So and ones just need to put their heads down and get to work courageously to take this forward to limit the destruction. And for every day that one procrastinates and that knows of GPMS and doesn't step up to assist, again, they are contributing to the great infliction of harm by the current system, because they're allowing it to exist longer and longer. And technically and lawfully, uh, again, one becomes an accomplice of that crime by allowing it to exist and not doing anything to remedy or to stop it, if you will.
Beautiful, brother. Thank you. And my last question, there may be a few, not many, I would presume, that there is an element of skepticism behind everything versus faith. How do you respond to those who reject the idea of divine intervention? So, how do you respond to those who reject the idea of divine intervention?
Well, with that, there's little energetic input or focus I put to that way. It becomes obvious that there are soulless minions out there that are scripted from boiler rooms, if you will, to always be an adversary and to attempt to distract and distort the light. That was a common dark tactic. So, having said this, I give all the benefit of the doubt, but let me say I don't waste a lot of time on ones that are skeptic, for the very reason, if they are skeptic and if they're not open to listen and to be receptive to some more knowledge, if they begin to block that, either because they are dark or if they have a restrictive ego, then it's a waste of time and energy for us to even assist those ones. So what we say, if they're skeptics, they will learn themselves through their experience, or perhaps even get called by God, to come on, smarten up, wisen up here, or what have you. So I don't focus on who is skeptical and who is negative. I focus on gathering those that are in alignment, because the real truth is the majority of the numbers are in alignment. And I mentioned, I think before, if you see one skeptic one step out, there's actually at least 3 others that are not skeptic. So we don't put our focus on energizing and giving glory to one naysayer. We put our focus on those that know it and we gather those, and that's what changes the world. So again, if you look worldwide, I think it's 77% in the past. It's probably much more now. I would say in the 80s, 80%, perhaps 88% that believes in God now. So having said that, the God people has to do the right thing despite, if there's a 15% of the world's population doesn't believe, it doesn't matter. It's not about them. It's about gathering the majority. And this 15%, if they don't see it along the way, they will see once we have it created, if they're still here, that this is the way. So we put our time and our focus on creating this, and the naysayers, with our great compassion, I will give individuals a few moments of my time. But if I don't see any advancement forward, it becomes a waste of time and energy. So that's what I say about skeptics. You will have them, and don't focus on them. We focus on the believers.
Beautiful, brother Rick. It's been very uplifting as always, sharing space with you, and it's been a fabulous show, and I'm sure our viewers are also in alignment with all that you have put out there, and it's been very energizing as always, brother. Thank you for your beautiful presence as always, and what you do for all of us and humanity. And I'm sure it won't be long before we reconnect, brother, because I'm in a flow right now with you. And I was just saying before the show, I really appreciate your presence in terms of how you're lifting everyone's morale as well. And everything's coming beautifully with the alignments and with the beautiful model of what GPMS really represents and stands for. And on that note, thank you so much. And beautiful.
Thank you, brother. I wish to say, as we experienced before we come on, our internet here was not very great, and it was difficult at times to hear your questions fully, brother. And but what I'm sharing with the viewers, that we had a little bit of technical things there. So if it didn't seem like I know myself, because of that, I didn't get out what I wanted to really get out, but divinely, everything is as it should be. So with I'm very grateful and to be here. I'm very happy with the work you're doing, Brother Barrett, and giving me the opportunity to, purvey more of this information out. And of course, it's with the individual, what resonates with them as well. But what I do say, I am who I say I am, son of God, if you will, and that is the truth. It doesn't matter to I who believes it or not, because I know it, and I know what my mission is here. And humbly, I share with all my brothers and sisters, divine brothers and sisters, I'm here. Let's all get together and do this and get it done, So it doesn't matter really who I may divinely be. It doesn't matter who divinely you may be. What matters is what we do here now to change this world. And that is where the glory is at, that we all share in to do the right moral thing and to change this world and take it out of the suffering. So thank you, brother.
And much love and gratitude as always, brother. And see you again in the very, very near future. Much love. Take care.
Yeah, much love, light, and gratitude. You're welcome, and thank you.
Bioactivator would like to thank you for your kind support and donations. Through Barrett Tunian's guardianship of this platform, his activation of truth harmonizes, neutralizes, and unblocks the meridians that connect, balance, and purify all that comes in contact. Do no harm is the key that fully opens the heart's voice to be in the union of the I Am presence, and will represent every living organism on the planet whose voice would otherwise not be heard. Remember, the truth will set you free. Do no harm, cause no loss, and do not impose upon the freedom of others. Love, light, and